So I was tagged in this video this morning. Thank you, Ashley, for sending this my way. This is a serious situation that this individual had made a video on, and I want to try to help her out the best way I can. She's looking for advice, so I'm gonna make this video for her. I hope she can see it, and we'll see if we can get this situation squared away. It's a very good learning opportunity here for anyone that watches this.
When we brought my newborn baby home from the hospital, my husky tried to attack her. Moms, I need your help if you're watching this. If you've been in the same situation as me, I could really use some advice. My husband and I were obsessed with our dogs. They're our babies. We have a golden doodle who's about 3, and then we have a husky who is 5.
So there's going to be a series of questions that I'm going to pose to this woman and her family at some point. But I want to point out right away, because she had said her husky had attempted to attack her baby, right? They brought a newborn baby home. And it's really important to point out the language people use, right? So in this case, she had said, these dogs are their babies. And this is going to get into the questions that I'm going to pose to this family, because it's important that we don't humanize the dogs that we live with, because that can lead to problems. And so when I hear people say the dogs are my babies, and I'm not saying this woman or her husband do this, but I'm inclined to think that the dogs don't get enough discipline. They don't have firm boundaries. There's maybe a lack of respect there because maybe they baby the dogs too much. And I'm not saying that's the case, but it's just something that I think of when I hear that.
We rescued my husky. He's a great dog. He is extremely people friendly, has never ever showed any signs of aggression. Obviously, you can imagine that we were very nervous to bring a little baby newborn home. We're very nervous about it because our dogs' personalities are very strong. They have very dominant personalities.
Now, I'm glad that she was able to recognize that, because this is a real thing that a lot of people don't want to acknowledge. Dominance is real. And the fact that she understands that, okay, I have strong-minded dogs, strong-willed dogs, dominant dogs. Now, there's a lot of different opinions about what dominance is. Now, listen, I lived with a dominant, aggressive dog for 13 years. He taught me a lot. And I'll tell you, in my world, dominance, we can replace that word with control. A dominant dog is a dog who seeks to control things. They will challenge you over things. They will engage in power struggles with you over things. It can reach the level where if the dog becomes empowered enough that it will attack you or another dog over things. So it's a control thing.
When we brought Soleil home, we have a baby gate that is like metal bars and there's like spaces through it. And we thought it would be a good idea to let them smell her through the gate with each of us on either side of it. So we did it with my golden doodle. He was great. He sniffed her through the gate with, I think, my husband holding her. Like he held his hand over her head and let my doodle sniff her head through the gate. And he was fine. No signs of jealousy or being territorial or anything weird. So he pretty much passed the test. I know like you can't ever really trust a dog around a baby, but he did very well and has continued to do very well. He's very trusted around the baby. However, this really even upsets me to talk about because I feel like our family has been broken a little bit, but my husky did try to bite her a couple times.
Now, I like the way that they structured this, right? So we have the dogs meet the baby through the gate. That's a great way to start. Safety measures in place. I will disagree, though, that you can't ever really trust a dog around a baby. When you integrate a new member into the family, and dogs are social creatures, they see things in terms of hierarchy. So you're adding another member to the hierarchy. If you do it in the right way, you can communicate to the dog that this is a new member of our family, and there's an order to things. Any dog should always see all the humans in the house as above it within the hierarchy. I don't care if it's a baby, a kid, an adult, doesn't matter. Dogs should see everybody, have the same level of respect for everybody. So there's a way you introduce a baby to a dog where you could start to build that understanding. Now, in this case, my question would be, were you holding the baby when the husky tried to snap at the baby? Because what happens is if you hold something, and I'm sure maybe you've seen it, where you pick up a dog off the ground, and maybe another dog around you jumps up and tries to nip at that dog, when maybe it wasn't even interested in the dog when it was on the ground. Just the act of lifting the dog off the ground now kind of triggers a bit of prey drive in the other dog, and that dog is inclined to jump and nip. So, in this situation, were you holding the baby, or where was the baby positioned? That's an important question I would want an answer to.
Don't mean to get all teary-eyed. It's just like, it sucks. And I never really thought we'd be in this position because he's been around kids before. These dogs were and are our babies, and it's just such a big family transition bringing your newborn baby home to your dogs and it not working out. So what ended up happening was we did the same thing with my husky that we did with our doodle, and we let him sniff her through the gate, of course with our hand over her head to protect her. We tried it on one occasion, and the first time he tried to nip at her foot through the gate, and I believe we must have tried the next day, he tried to nip her on the head. Since then, I didn't want to do that anymore. I didn't want to try to introduce them anymore because I'm not going to take that risk. I'm not going to test him to the point where he does actually hurt her. Me and my husband have talked about.
Yeah, and I don't blame you. I wouldn't want to push it either until I know what I'm dealing with. And now I'm not recommending they do this, but this is how I would structure things if I knew the dog had the potential to do this. I would put the baby in a crib, where the baby was protected, and then I would have the husky come into that room and let it smell the crib. And the second that the dog started to show any kind of dominant behavior or any precursor to an aggressive display, I would address that dog and make it very clear that this is totally fucking unacceptable.
This a lot, and our take on it is just that we know that my husky was not trying to, per se, attack her. I really think that it's just in his breed, and he just doesn't know any better, and he thinks that she's like some sort of brined chicken for him. I don't know. Like, he thinks that she's prey. He is a hunter by nature. He hunts all kinds of wildlife, rats, birds, rabbits, like you name it, cats. He loves hunting. So we think that he truly doesn't know better, and he thinks that she's prey. Of course, like, he's gonna hear and see this tiny little newborn baby and not know what it is. It's been very difficult.
So this I will actually agree with her on. It's very likely that the baby's unfamiliar to this husky. He's never been around a baby before. And if he's already in the habit of acting on the impulse to hunt and kill things, then an unfamiliar presence, like a baby, it's very possible that is the mindset he was in. Now, it doesn't make it right. And my question would be is why are we allowing the husky to engage in hunting or act on the prey drive? So it would suggest to me that maybe there's a lack of boundaries or rules here for the dog to follow, and we need to address that. But I don't know for sure. These are just questions. Part of the questions that I would want to pose to this family so we can get further clarification on how we got here.
These last few months in that aspect, because we've truly had to keep him separate from her at all times. Basically, we have like a baby gate that is in between our living room where he normally hangs out and our room. We really make it a point to always close the door behind us. He typically is outside in the backyard. Golden Doodle is more of an inside dog. He's more of an outside dog. But I live in Southern California, and it's like 100 degrees right now, and it's been 100 degrees pretty much all summer. So I do feel bad about leaving him in the backyard. He normally does sleep like in this area in the living room with the AC on, with my Golden Doodle, like very spoiled, obviously treated very well still. Getting rid of him was not an option for us yet, because like we really want to see if it can work eventually. I don't know if things will be different once she starts walking, because like I said, he has been okay around walking babies before. Like, I'm talking a year old. So we're kind of thinking like we're gonna keep him separate for, up until her first birthday, and we're gonna cautiously try again. But my thing is like, okay, well then what happens with our next baby? Like how am I possibly going to keep him separate from a newborn baby, but maybe not separate from a toddler?
Okay, so I will actually agree with her again. It is very possible that once the dog reaches a certain stage, that it'll be okay. If it's already okay with kids now or toddlers, then you very well may likely get over this hump and everything be okay. But I still wouldn't. I would still want my dog to be okay with the baby. Again, it's a matter of integrating the baby correctly so the dog has the right perception of the baby, and so that there's no issues moving forward. Now, my question would be though is if the dog is acting on its prey drive, what degree has it been around toddlers? Because if toddlers get excited and start running around, I mean, has the husky been around children that are excited and running around before? Because I would be interested to see if this dog will nip at a baby when kids get excited and start running around. Will the dog's prey drive be, or that dominant side of him get, will that kick in and he'll begin then to attack the kids?
Obviously, we're going to do a lot of research and maybe even bring in some professional help. So if you have any advice or recommendations, I would deeply appreciate that, because this is just such a shitty situation, and it's not a situation that I ever imagined myself to be in.
Now, I'm not going to play the rest of it. She just goes on to, they obviously love their dogs, and they're just looking for help, and they're thanking everybody for their help and advice. Here's the questions I would pose to this family, and they're very simple. 1, does the dog have any privileges in the house? Does it sleep on the bed? Does it sleep on the furniture? Does it have access to things that, would be considered privileges? I would remove those immediately if my dog is showing aggression towards a baby. That would be where I would start, at least temporarily. 2, are there rules and boundaries that the dog has been given that have been consistently enforced so we could build expectations? So this is part of building respect with the dog. Or is there discipline in place? Because when I hear that the dog is engaging in all the hunting and acting on prey drive, maybe there's not enough discipline. 3, are people petting on this dog way too much? Because again, it's their baby. Are people petting the dog way too much, giving it all this affection, especially at the wrong times? Like, say, maybe it's excited, or maybe it's engaging in dominant behavior, or maybe it's engaging in controlling behavior, and people are petting all over it, giving it affection, and it's empowering the dog in the wrong way through touch. 4, does the dog engage in any kind of controlling behavior over anything in the house? Furniture, bed, people, food, bones, you name it. Will he become aggressive over anything in the house? 4, are there moments where the dog engages in demanding behavior? Like, will it come up to you if you're on the couch and maybe nudge your hand, like kind of as a demand for getting affection or for you touching it or giving it attention? Will it bark at you for things? Because you had mentioned that it will open the door to let itself in. Have you noticed that it will act on its own initiative to access things aside from the door? 5, if you give it a command, does it listen 100% of the time? If you give the dog direction or a command, or you tell it not to do something, will it listen 100% of the time? Because if the answer is no, then there's a level of respect that has not been achieved, and so the dog might perceive himself as higher up in that hierarchy than he really should, which means he has a little more control in the house, and he has a little more control over the people in the house than a dog like that should have. Actually, no dog should have that, but especially a dog like him. So what I would begin to do is I'd begin to, like, say, for instance, if you call him to you and he doesn't come, or maybe he blows you off, huskies have a way of doing that. Do you just let it go? Or do you actually go get him and make him come to where come to you like you told him to do? Or if you tell him to sit, you know he knows how to sit, but he doesn't do it, will you go and actually address him and make him sit? Following through on your words so it means something. Those are the things that I would look at. So again, does he have privileges on the bed, furniture? Does he demand things from you? Does he attempt to control anything else in the house? Does he have rules and boundaries to follow? Are people giving him too much affection and attention at all the wrong times? And will he listen 100% of the time in the house? I would start with these questions. I would love a response video from this family and this woman. If they see it, I hope they see it. And I would love to help them in any way I can.